Will you come up?
Made me tired. It's here and everything I've done.
You're a busy lady.
I go to school a lot because I like to go to school. I like to learn. And I think as we age, we are still curious. We continue to be curious. So even on dementia care, I continue to be curious about what I should do to take better care of the residents at the farms, at Kirby. And I also work with people outside who maybe I consult with them because I have a need to do it and to help them individually. So that's my mission. So what we're going to talk about is dementia care when this or that happens. And this is a presentation of a 40-year collection of thoughts, quotes of residents, families, co-workers with a touch of wisdom. Also from authors, movies, books, whatever. I write things down. I wrote something down this morning. And it had to do with the importance of touching someone so they know you care. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later. So I took my phone. I have over 2,000 quotes and things in my phone that I keep. Okay, so some of you know each other, some of you don't. So the best way for us to start is I want to see how good your handshake is. So if you just turn around, handshake with somebody, because you got to have a good one. It's got to be good and strong and warm and meaningful, because that is the first touch we have with someone we don't know. Will be that handshake. Okay. So once upon a time, a wise woman said this to me. It was actually in 1983. She said, "Now, Annette, and I'm from Mississippi," and she said it the right way. There's no such thing as a sweet older woman or a mean older woman. There's a sweet older woman that got old and a mean older woman. And so I had come from an academic setting and actually had taught the older adult. And so I was pretty sure that I knew just about everything anybody needed to know, because I had taught nursing and I had studied it. So after about a month there as the first nurse at Kirby, I put the books away and decided that the best teachers would be the residents, the families, and the staff there. So it's worked well for me to do that. So what we're going to think about today are 4 things. I'll keep going back to these, and then I have one thing that I discussed yesterday that I just keep saying over and over and over, because I have to have a foundation to work from. I'm sporadic on things, but if I got a good foundation, I know that what I'm going to do is probably going to turn out better for the resident I'm dealing with. So the first thing, there's the relationship and need for balance between the environment and the resident is extremely important. And she mentioned that I help with the design. I have evidence-based reasons as to why everything was designed the way it was designed in healthcare. I did not participate in IL, but I did in healthcare. And everything just has a reason as to why it was done that way. And it was done so that the resident could better adapt to the environment that they're in. Not me adapt, but I adapt to them, the environment adapts to them. How our mind and body language impact the responses of others. And it does. So on the way here, I noticed people in the cars as they were coming here, and they did not look happy. I looked, then I didn't go, I went from happy to, well, maybe they look content. I didn't get much of that. And then I went to, maybe they just are comfortable and I did see some people comfortable in their vehicles. I was very comfortable, and I decided to smile at everybody that was to the left or the right of me. And then fine tuning our personal communication skills and personal style as a dementia caregiver. And I put that in there, but I think and I hope that you can take at least one thing I give you today and apply it to your business. Because people with dementia are just like us. They just can't adapt to their environment like we can. Their responses are very logical based on the capability they have to adapt at that moment. So when I look for logic, sometimes when I'm dealing with residents directly, I find a great deal of logic in what they do based on the information they have and the information they can process. So it's not strange to me, some of the things they do or say. And then adapting to unpredictable situations that result in the resident and the staff feeling uncertain and maybe unsafe. And that is why mostly what I'm going to cover with today is in the moment. So I'm not going to go over a lot of history on how you get there and a lot of theory and all that. It's just in the moment. And we all have in the moment times. That's why I think some of the things I share with you, you can use with your customers, especially when you find them, in quotes, challenging. So the question, how we're going to look at dementia care today, the answer, we're going to use the wisdom principles, and they're very simple. The first is anticipate the person's needs, scheduled and unscheduled. And these wisdom principles I use every day. I've used them for the last, well, Job's Way was in 96. Since then, I came up with this. It just works. All I can tell you, it just works. But I also, as I was saying yesterday, I'm willing for it to work and not have control over it. Part of that is us letting go. So if you try not to have control, you understand you have control by better skills. You don't need the control of telling people what to do. And that's when we have a problem with people with who have dementia. And then respect the person's personal space, arms or legs length. And I know I'm supposed to stand here, so I can't get over there. But if I wanted to come up to you, she takes my hand. But if Mary Lou did not take my hand, I would not go any closer because she did not invite me into her personal space. People who are agitated while I'm dealing with them, I know where their hands are. I know how their faces are looking, where their hands are, where their feet are. I've never been injured because if they don't invite me, I can't go in until they trust me enough to invite me in. If they invite me in, then I put my hand over theirs like the preachers do, and then I know I've got an in there. So that's just a good thing to remember when you're dealing with people who have dementia. It's about their personal space. But I like my personal space too, so I'm not a big hugger. It just depends on who it is. Do not provoke the person. And then we're going to talk about use the win-win approach. But the provoke, if I could underline anything, if you've provoked someone, you have not anticipated their needs. Now, unscheduled, you don't know, and those are interesting, but you have to be ready for them. And you have not probably respected their personal space. They're saying, don't get close to me. When we talk about what they do, they get you away. They'll swat you away. They also close their eyes when they don't want to hear anymore. So if I see y'all closing your eyes, I'm going, no, it's time to leave. And I can tell you, men close their eyes more than women do, and that's all I'm saying. Okay, I was told many years ago, to be a good caregiver, you must have a listening heart. And I think it takes your entire body to listen to a person. The development and everyday use of the win-win approach started with a phone call, and I'll say it very quickly. Got a phone call, what to do about this resident who was trying to get out of her apartment. And I kept saying, well, to the manager who's dealing with the caregiver, what's happening? And I said, when she says this, you can go, yeah, go, thank you. When she says this to you, what do you say back? When she does this, what do you do? That is the win-win approach. It's so simple, isn't it? It gets difficult because we try to read more into it there. So the whole approach with someone that I take who has dementia or cognitive issues, I also do this with my granddaughter, my grandson, whoever I think I need to win-win with. When the person says this to me, I need to use the skill and the knowledge I have and the history about them to say this back to them. When they do this, the SWAT, I need to know not to get in their space. They just let me know. So what would I do when they do that? I would back up and say, I know you don't want me to get close to you right now. So I'm going to come back later. So I have very seldom have emergencies with people who have dementia, and I don't have all these challenging behaviors either. So that's the win-win. That's the secret thing there. But you have to do those three things I said before to know how to use the win-win. Okay, good. So I'm happy you're here today. We will get wiser together. Because every time I've ever done a session, you wouldn't believe what I learned from the participants. Maybe by their body language, the questions they asked, whether I made myself clear or not, they were interested or not. I just learned so much. So I self-evaluate a lot afterwards. That's not my dog, but I wish it was. The first foundation for the best caregiver responses is link the promise of theory to the reality of practice. I said I wasn't going to go there, but you have to understand the theory to figure out what to do on a daily basis. And that's what I did with the win-win approach. By taking everything I knew, I put it into a simple form of when you do this, when they say this, when they do this, this is what we say, this is what we do. So I've done that for you already. But one of the foundations, I talked about the environment, and this was a great thing I found. It was from a physician who also did some research in behaviors, and this applies to all of us. When the environment is not in balance with the competency of the person in that environment, they cannot adapt. They can't do it. So if you have two people that, and yesterday, a lady who has dementia, I went to see her in Roos Way, which are the memory support at the farms. The music was too loud. She was fidgety. It was a sensory overload. All we did was turn the music down. So within the environment, we have the staff, we have the colors, we have the lighting, we have the temperature, we have noise. We have all these factors that are in there. You have to make sure that they're at a level that they can adapt to. So if it's cold and they start moving around, it's not that they're agitated, they're cold, just like you and I would be cold. And then the third foundation is, and this is so old, I know it is, but it's older than I am. That if we do not look at the physical needs first, we cannot go up. And so many people will tell me the conclusion, oh, my dad can't get out of the chair. Well, his arthritis is bad that day. Anything to do with the dementia. His arthritis is bad. So you need to take care of the physical needs. Are they hungry? Are they thirsty? Are they in pain? Are they uncomfortable? Are they itching? Which is something that happens frequently. All those things have to, medication change, medication adjustment. They ate something and they're having GI problems. You have to get all that out of the way before you go to the dementia. I had a resident tell me one time, he'd just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She said, you know, Annette, I will never be right again. No one will ever believe what I say. Because when they find out I have Alzheimer's, they will think I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, so you got to do the physical first. So if somebody's not breathing, it really is not a concern to me that they feel loved or not at the time. They have to take care of them first. Okay. And then the next thing that I focus on with people with dementia is safety. The main thing is that if you don't feel safe, you're going to protect yourself. And we'll get into how you're going to do that. We all do the same thing. They just will be more protective of themselves because they've lost some of that cognitive skill to be able to logically figure out what's going on with them. And a man one time who couldn't, got a call when we first opened Job's Way. He's trying to get out the window. He's trying to get out the window. Now they've been trained, because I trained them. Okay, trying out the window. Okay, go ask him why. He couldn't find the door. So if you were in a room, took a nap, and you woke up and you didn't know where you were, and there was a window, and you didn't feel safe, what would you do?
Get out.
Get out the window. That's very logical. Okay. And then we'll finish with the fourth. And these four things go through my mind like boom, 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 boom. Okay, first, each resident is an individual with special personality traits. Many live their
Loves.
many live there. I didn't say it right. Yeah, gotta fix my sentence. Many live their lives with unfinished things, unfinished relationships, and unfinished goals. So I've made an error and I've adjusted to it. Okay. But this personality thing, if it's there, it's there, and you need to appreciate it. Because if you have a chatty person before they have dementia, they're probably going to be chatty afterwards, unless there is a significant psychological change. And sometimes that's related to something other than dementia. Depression would be one of the biggest ones that I deal with, would be depression. So you got to put that aside over here, that this is just they're maybe not social butterflies, so they've always been quiet. Okay, each resident probably has coexisting diseases that impact their daily lives. So you have to remember, there's probably not just one diagnosis. With people over 65, it's usually at least 5. Okay, by that time, yeah, it's 5. And so those things may be what you're dealing with. So get those out of the way first. Get all those, the personalities over here. Had a lady tell me, my mom's a dingbat. She always has been. I don't think there's anything wrong with her. I said, okay. She was dingbatty. She was funny, but she was very much aware of what was going on. So we just put that to the side. Each resident may have been diagnosed with memory deficit, and that is, it's a disease of despair and traumatic experiences. More studies done about trauma now, and we're finding with our older adults that some trauma occurred. I'm seeing this more with military experience, that when I assess them, we go back. We've been to Vietnam twice, probably in the last 6 months. I've been back in the battle with them. We just go right to where it's occurring and what's going on, because they have not left that. Those are people, if you have someone in your family that does that, they need to get counseling, because they've probably got, I can't diagnose, post-traumatic stress disorder. It can be dealt with and you can move on. And then each resident's coping with the aging process. You know you're over the hill when your mind makes a promise that your body can't do. That was some little feet. Y'all know little feet. That's some little feet. Okay, and that's the most important factor to me, is the aging factor, not the dementia, not the personality, not the coexisting diseases first. When I go in to see someone and they're for distance, I wait to see if they see me. When you have a customer comes in and you're telling them something and they go, "What'd you say?" They just said they can't hear you, by moving. Your senses are working all the time. We just don't work off of them. But it's there in front of us to use. So use the vision, the hearing, the touch. The other is, and we don't get into taste, or they'll say, if you're in the restaurant business, that doesn't taste right, be a factor. And the other is smell. That's a big factor for me, is smell, because we all have our own smell. So if you have someone who has dementia and they're in their later stages and they don't know who you are, wear similar the clothes, keep your cologne, don't change cologne, perfume, whatever. They know the smell. Bring their favorite sweater and put it on their pillow. That makes them feel safe. And my goal is that they are comfortable. So I forgot to mention that I did change my card, and I've got some cards there, but I changed my card from the Director of Medical Services to I am a dementia comfort specialist. That's more important to me than all this other stuff I've done in my past, is to comfort people who have dementia. So what's going on in our brains? Well, they're like sponges. And the brain houses the emergency response. And it causes us to, if we're in danger, we get into the protective mode. And we're going to do probably one of three things. There are several others you can add there, but I like to keep it basic. We're going to fight, we're going to flee, or we're going to freeze. We're going to do all three of them, maybe. I'm a freezer. Somebody says something to me, and a doctor bawled me out one time. Okay. And then I get away. I'm a freezer and I flee. So when you have people who are trying to get out of the house, I hear that a lot. They're trying to get out of the house. They're fleeing to find something that makes them feel safe or comfortable. There's a reason why they're fleeing. They got something to do. They're looking for something that's important to them. So you'll see the fight, the flight, and the flee. So if somebody's in a wheelchair, they can't get up to flee from you, but you'll see them start trying to move it. Or they're going to fight you with the swat or the kick. And the freeze is they just look at you and there's no response. And they're saying, I can't take it. I can't take any more in. So you need to what? Get out of their space, unless it's an emergency, and leave them alone and let them regather their feelings so that they can get back to a comfort level. How do you decode body language? You have to observe. And we all do it, right? We're observing all the time. We just got to get in touch with it when we're dealing with people with dementia. So body language, there are 7 universal body language expressions, facial expressions, tried all over the world, and everybody identifies them the same way. When I do the classes, we go over this and we take turns showing what body language. So the surprise, the fear, the disgust, contempt, anger, happy, and sad. So let's go to the next. So which one is this one? That's right. See, it's a surprise. See, y'all are so good. It's a surprise. All right, what's the next one? Disgust. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sad. Fear.
Anger.
Angry.
Contempt.
Contempt.
Happy.
See, you know that. So when you're walking up to somebody and they have those facial expressions, why do you not pretend they're not there? Because they're there. So, and you can help me watch the time. Okay. Because I was in a meeting yesterday and there was a person who had experienced a recent loss and someone was trying to comfort them. Well, they're still grieving. I saw it. I saw the tears some. I saw the shuffling papers. The other person was trying to help and say, well, maybe you could do this. And maybe you could do that. He was shuffling his papers. It just kept on. And I just patted his arm and I said, it's okay. Today, you don't have to do anything, do you? No. So we changed the subject. But it was so obvious from his face. The person meant well, but it was just constant boom, boom, boom. And he kept, what he did, he just shut down. He was frozen. Okay, some of the challenging behaviors, I'm not going to go into all of them. You hear about combativeness, sundowning, and who, I might sundown. Because toward the end of the day, I'm not as happy. I'm not as easy to get along with.
You get
I
tired
don't
and hungry.
feel good. Yeah, I don't feel good. And so I think that's a pretty normal thing. It's an old term. It's not one I really like to deal with. And then wandering or walking about, I believe that people are walking about looking for a place, a person, a thing, or a thought. And you need to just ask them what it is. Where are you going? Well, I got to go home. Why? Well, my husband's there. They just told you where they're going to go. It's not that they're trying to get away from you. They're going to some person who makes them feel safe and is comforting to them. And apparently we're not doing it at that moment. So we need to bring them back, and we won't go into therapeutic fibbing, but I do believe that. Okay, and then inappropriate personal needs, behavior, and sexual expressions. I could have a whole class on that. But I don't go into that. But not everything that people do with their hands is sexual. That's about all I'm going to say about that. It's not. If you're itching, you scratch. So that doesn't mean it's a sexual thing. Okay. And then we go back to the adaptation model, because once again, knowing some of the things I've talked to you about, if the environment is not in balance with the person's competency, they cannot adapt. And as a caregiver, it's my responsibility and my honor to provide an environment that they don't have to adapt to. And simple things we can do so that they can adapt. Turn the TV down if it's not here. Is one thing. Don't get them in a large group. Their family group. Decide who it is that talks the most in the family group. You know who it is. Don't let them get close to them at first, because it tires them. It can agitate them. You plan the whole thing. The strategy is for them to be comfortable in a situation where it's overload. So now you're on the verge of becoming a comfort specialist. So I need your help on this, okay? So let's take the tool. Can somebody give me one situation that all of these almost comfort specialists here can help you with? Give us a win situation.
I've got one.
Okay.
My mother was diagnosed with Lewy body, dementia. And she would hallucinate for things that were so real to her that weren't really going on. Like, I'm not going to eat my supper until all these people in the room get fed first. Well, there's no people in the room. But I learned to just go along with what she said. I said, Mama, I can't see those people, but I know you can. And I know it's important to you that these people eat. What if I opened up the refrigerator and we showed them all of those Tupperware bowls that have the food in them and just invite them to heat them up in the microwave? Would that be okay with you? She said, you know what, Joe, I know they're really not there, but they're real to me. And she told me, she said, I really appreciate that you understand that this is what I see. And yes, I'm fine with you opening the refrigerator so she would eat.
And that's wonderful to say that. And that is giving up this, there's nobody there. There's nobody out there. Well, it is real, and you cannot, what I studied, you cannot change someone's delusion or their hallucination. So that with the two veterans, we went into war, I was right there with them and asking them what was going on. Could they, both of them, get me to a safe place so that I wasn't involved in it? Yes. So they removed themselves so they would protect me, so I would feel safe. That's great. So let's go back. So the relationship and need of balance between the environment and the resident. So that's when we get to that adaptation model. The balance has got to be there. how our mind and body language impact the responses of others. And I just use facial expressions, but when I do the classes, we have to stand up and give our signature. Body move. And it depends on what I said. Well, tell me what you do when you're angry. Now, ladies, all I can tell you is this is the most common one. So I'm thinking, especially if it's a nurse and she's in charge, I have to think. Fine tuning our personal communication skills as dementia caregivers, your personal style. Anything I told you, you have to put into your style. So you were comfortable doing that. Some people aren't. So maybe the best thing to do is redirect them or change the subject or just say, well, ask them, what are they doing? You know, what do you see? And make sure that the person's safe with whatever is going on in that hallucination. Because I've had people that were safe, who weren't. Probably my favorite was a lady. Every day she'd come and she'd say, you know, she didn't have her mirror there and her powder, and she would go, do you think my lipstick looks good? I said, I love the color. And she moved on. And adapt to unpredictable situations that leave the resident and staff feeling uncertain and maybe unsafe. And so that is really important for staff, even staff in a store. When someone gets aggressive, they need to know what you expect them to do. And the best thing is probably not to do anything, but it does happen. So these things that I told you can happen anywhere. So what I want you to take away today, did you learn anything new? Did you see anything you could grow from? 3 minutes, okay, I'm good. And was it all just common to you? Everything's the same, so you already knew this anyway. Was it just too much to take in? Can you imagine me doing this for 3 hours? But we go all the place. Do you feel like you need to study it some? Does it apply to a lot of people? Do you expect the healthcare team to do that? And did you come up with something that I haven't come up with that you think would work for you? So that's my own thing, but we can pass that. So thank you for spending time with me today. Right, we have time for questions.
How would you best coach a family member who may not be as flexible to adapting to the other person's behavior?
I'm going to use the 3 magic words. I'm not a marketing person, but I understand these are the 3, and I do use them. Tell me more, because I've got to find out what about their personality. I've got to find out if they have an illness. I've got to find out if they have any cognitive issues, which I do sometimes with spouses, and also where they are in the aging process. The relationship with that person, that's past, I can't change it. But I keep giving them options until I give them more than one option that they would be comfortable with.